What is up, players? It's WarbossTae up in this mug. Welcome to my review of the Cadia stands box. I am super excited to get into this new Astra Militarum kit, and I'm going to just show you a quick overview of what you get in the box. We're not going to get too much into the cards or the rule book. I want to make sure I don't step over any toes, but I'm really all about the miniatures, so that's what we're going to be focusing on and what you get in the box. So the first thing is you get this awesome poster, Sergeant Harker here, Catachan Jungle Fighter Extraordinaire, fighting off a very spooky Demon of Khorne. And on the other side, you've got the Lord Solar on his Robo Horse. And man, I really love this piece of artwork. It's definitely new because this is a new model, hasn't been released yet. And I do like how Games Workshop is putting these posters in their big boxes to keep the miniatures from punching through. You do see a little bit of damage where the miniatures did press into the poster a little bit more than it would be preferred, but you still get this nice piece of artwork. You could put it in a frame or just tack it on your wall. It's pretty cool. All right, so the box itself, you pop it open and then pull everything out. I just wanted to show you what it comes in. This Cadia regimental standard here. And is there anything special about it? No, the back is just more artwork. And then the artwork from the box just in the background there. So let's dig into the sprues. And actually, before we dig into the sprues, because that's what I'm going to be spending the most time on, let's look at the rule book really quickly. And you've got an assembly guide, which is great. We'll take a look at the transfers. You've got some of these bigger bases for the Sentinel and the heavy ordnance. And then you've got the smaller bases for the miniatures. Here is the deck of cards. I think it's really cool that Games Workshop comes out with these. It gives them much needed diversity from other kinds of games where you have these cards and their orders, powers, disciplines, stratagems, all that kind of stuff. So the quality is really pretty good and nice glossy on the back here. Oh, it looks like they also have different symbols depending on what the actual cards are for, and they come in this nice little box. I heard from the guy who worked at the game store that I picked this up from that this is the only way you're going to be able to get some of these kits until they release them in 2023. So when I picked this up in November of 2022, there was no other way to get these new miniatures. I think they said that the Cadian, yeah, if you remember the Cadian Shock Troopers, the only way, the newest release for them had been the upgrade sprues, which were included in the old Cadia Shock Trooper box, which is like decades old at this point. And don't even get me started on the Catachans. Man, the Catachans look so like weirdly proportioned now with how big their muscles are and just totally out of scale. So here you've got the assembly guide, which is really nice. It shows you the size of the bases that everything goes on, and then it gives you an overview of the sprues as well as a look at what they should look like if they're painted according to what they look like in the fluff. Love this 3D printed three-dimensional view of what the models should look like. You've got the different options that you can put them as. And okay, so I was looking at this a little bit earlier. You've got your Cadian command squad here, and each miniature has its own thing that is pretty much like a monopose. If you look at the legs and the torso, there's only one way you can build them, and then you add and you decide what you want them to be holding, and you can decide what heads you want for them. But pretty much you're gonna have this guy, number 2, either the standard bearer, or you're gonna have him as one of your specialist weapons because he's got this stoic standing pose. So you can either build him to be holding your standard, or you can build him to be holding one of your special weapons. The third guy here can be built as the guardsman with the medipack, and I think that's the only way you can build this guy to be holding a medipack. Actually, no, that's not true. He doesn't have to be holding that. It looks like his left arm is interchangeable, so you could change it to something else. No, because it's slung over his shoulder. See, the way they color code it, you really have to take a look at what the completed model looks like. It's got this strap across it, this sling, which is attached to the meta pack, so you can't really switch that out. So what I'm saying is you can't have just a commander and 4 guys with specialist weapons or 4 veteran guardsmen. One of them has to be holding this meta pack. Looks like the comms guy here, there's only one way you can build him, with the comms unit. And then number 5, you can make him into any number of these special weapons options. Then you've got your completed look here, what they should look like. And then you've got your Cadian shock troops. So you've got a sergeant, and then your interchangeable parts down here at the bottom. There's a lot of cool stuff to look at. I mean, we'll take a look at the sprues in just a second, but you can see they've really given you every eventuality that you might want to build these guys, as they're just holding their gun on the side, and they're not really it's not really held in both hands, while one of their hands is like pressed up against their helmet, like they're getting bombarded. And you've got other guys that are walking forward, holding their weapons or aiming them. And then at the end, it's like, you know what, just build them however you want, but these are the options that work best together. These are the arms that work best with the different torsos and the body types. Then something interesting that I haven't noticed in the last kit is that these all have a little bit of extra things that you could put on their base. Helmet, las gun. Oh yeah, actually the old Cadian Shock Trooper sprue did have that, but what they didn't have were sandbags, which you could only get with the heavy weapons team. So now you've got sandbags, knives, a shovel, and some other extra bits there. These are pretty cool. The field ordnance batteries, which are new. They're large field guns. They remind me a lot of the resin Forge World guns that they made for the Death Corps of Krieg, the Thud guns, and those different battery type guns with the wheels and everything. So it's really cool. You've got a gunner and all the different parts that are going to come with the actual gun itself. Then you've got the different loadouts you could give it. The cannon, the las cannon, or this large bombard gun looking thing, which I think are also built to have, so this is what that looks like. You've got your 2 pieces that slot into the side, or you've got your big cannon piece there. Your las cannon, of course, is going to be attached to a power battery. And then you've got your crew. The crew, I think, are some of the most interesting parts of these. They're the most imaginative. Like here you've got this one guy that's loading up a big shell. You've got another guy that looks like he's digging through one of these battery boxes. You've got the guy that, like the spotter, who's pointing or holding his hand up. And it's just really, really cool to build them up and to see them all painted up. Yeah, here's a guy holding his ears, and there's a guy spotting. Really cool. Love it. Can't wait to build them up. Then you've got your sentinels. And as far as I can tell, the sentinels are basically the same. I'm looking at the assembly of the legs here. The legs were what I was afraid the most would change, but it looks pretty similar to the old sentinel models. And then you've got the cockpit there. I always just prefer the sentinel cockpit because I like to see the crew guy inside and see what kind of heads they've got. And then if you want, here's the different guns. Then you've got this new drum gun there. And on the other side, you've got the spotlight or a chainsaw arm for cutting. And then these are my favorite, the things that you could put on them. Different cases, water canisters or fuel canisters, backpacks and stuff. So different things you can strap to the side of your sentinel. Oh, this is something that looks different. It's got an exhaust thing at the top. That's pretty cool. Okay. Then if you want to armor it up, then you can just put the plates on the sides and then the roof on the top, and then you've got an armored sentinel. That's really awesome. So in the entire kit, you've got 2 field ordnance batteries. You've got 20 guardsmen, 5 command squad, and 1 sentinel. Now, personally, I think in this box set you should have had a transport vehicle, Chimera, or yeah, I don't think they're going to come out with a new one, but I get that they want to sell all the new stuff, so they're going to put all the new stuff in here. Let's take a look really quickly at the Astra Militarum book. I'm really just looking at the artwork and to see what makes it stand out and special. I like all of the fluff pieces. Yeah, so I guess Ursula Creed is the new God, what do you call him? High Commander. The Lord Castellan of Cadia. Yeah, so it's the daughter of Ursula Creed. And I'm bummed out that there's no way to make plastic Mordians. They don't see, that doesn't seem to be on the horizon. I think these guys I've seen before. These almost like Navy nautical looking guys. And then you've got your catechins. So I think hopefully they'll be coming out with new catechins. Interesting that they have the Mordian Iron Guard here, but there's no way to get plastic models for them. And then there's a short mention of the Talarn Desert Raiders, which is cool. And then your Tillen Rough Riders here, and of course the Death Corps of Krieg, which we've seen from that one game has a plastic regiment now. Then you've got Gaunt's Ghosts, I believe. Yeah. And oh, what is this? Vresh Grenadiers. Okay, so I mean, they're basically making regiments, Astra Militarum regiments that have their own fluff and history and planets and everything. So they're encouraging you to do the same. They have the Armageddon Steel Legion here. Little mention of Yark. Oh, is he dead too? Gosh, I need to really brush up on my fluff. So what would have been cool would have been if they took these models and they're saying, okay, look, we don't have any plans to release plastic Mordians, or they don't even mention my guys, the Vostroyan Firstborn, but we're not really planning on introducing plastic Talarn or these other units. So why not use this space here, the modeling space? This is what I would have done. Tell my heavy metal painter guys to paint up these regiments as if they were a part of the Mordian planet. Like they're not going to look like Mordian Iron Guard, because the Mordian Iron Guard have their formal uniforms. That's how they fight. But we could paint up these colors onto these Cadian shock troopers. So something like this, where you have the dark blues with the red trim. That would have been pretty cool. I mean, like black armor with the dark blues underneath. I might do that. I might say like, hey, here's how you can paint your guys to look like they are from Talarn or they're from Mordia. I really love this Commissar figure. No idea when that's going to come out, but I think he's really cool. He's very tall and very imposing. Although, I don't know if you guys remember this, but back in the 90s, one of the Commissar figures, the metal Commissars, had this big old belly. Like, he was just this overweight Commissar, and I thought that was so funny. You've got pictures of the Attilan Rough Riders, which I think were teased in one of the Warhammer community articles, but we haven't really seen much of since then. You've got some Krieg painted in green, which I think is always interesting to see Death Corps of Krieg painted in their non-traditional colors. And then here, Ursula Creed, the Lord Castellan of Cadia. She's got variation helmets. You can either have her without a helmet or with a helmet. And she's got that little Cadia pole behind her. Seems pretty cool. Then you've got the Lord Commander Solar, who, I don't know, I don't really see anything special in this guy. He almost looks like he is ripped out of Warhammer Fantasy, like one of the old Elector Count models, and just given some robot legs and placed on a piece of Chaos Space Marine thing instead of cement. So I don't know if I'm really too much of a fan of this Lord Commander Solar model. I don't know what I would do differently though, because I mean, you want the classic Alexander the Great looking model with the cape and on a horse. I don't know. I just think that they could have gone a little bit further out there with the Warhammer 40k aesthetic of it. Then you've got some look at models that they already have out. The Bogrins and the Ogrins, the Tempestus Scions with some, look at their heraldry. This Tempestus Scion little go-kart, which I always thought was hilarious. There's a look here at the Rogel Dorn tank. That was it. The Rogel Dorn tank, which they also teased. And then I think some of their artwork is really great, like this female Cadian shock trooper. I think it's really great. This, see, Vostroyan Firstborn, so awesome, so awesome. But then there's no miniatures for him, or no teas that they're like. You didn't see them in any of the pictures, which is a bummer. We're just gonna fast forward through all of this. Regimental orders. Yeah, and let's take a look one more time at the models. You can have a Cadian Castellan from one of the command squad, tank commander, platoon command squad, Iron Hand Straken. He's in there. Gaunt's Ghosts, of course. Gotta pump those models. I like these regimental attaches. They're pretty cool. Infantry squad, Cadian shock troops. Okay. Death Corps of Krieg. Carskin. Regimental Preacher. When is this guy ever going to be not in metal? You know, I think you can build him up. I believe I built up one before using a Fanatic model. Gosh, what were those called in Warhammer Fantasy? The guys with the fire on their heads. Engine Seer, Servitors, Commissar, awesome new figure. Ogrins, Bogrins, Ratlings, also really great metal models. Love the Ratling snipers. I think they're so great. Attilan Rough Riders, and then that's it. Let's get on to the vehicles. Sentinels, Hellhound, Rogel Dorn battle tank. Then you've got Heavy Weapon Squad, Ordnance Battery. So I guess they still do have heavy weapon squads. Ordnance batteries are the actual big guns on the wheels. Then you've got your classic Leman Russ, Basilisk, Hydra, Manticore, Wyvern, Death Strike, Chimera Transport, Taurox Transport, Valkyrie, beautiful, air superiority. Then you've got your Aegis defense line, a little piece of terrain there. And then the big guns, the big tanks, your Bane Blades and your Bane Hammers and your Bane Swords and your Doom Hammers and your Hell Hammers and your Shadow Swords and your Storm Lords. And that's it. Then you got a Militarum Tempestus stuff. And yeah, so that's it, guys. Not really a huge fan of how not diverse the IG is now. I think Astra Militarum, one of the things that I loved about them was that they were so diverse. They're a whole galaxy of just regular men and women that were coming up to defend their planets and their cultures, and that's what you would see in the Talon Desert Raiders being so different from the Valhallans, being so different from the Vostroyan Firstborn. So I'm kind of bummed that there's not really that representation in this rulebook. We'll see. Maybe they've got something planned that I'm not really seeing yet. But let's take a look now at the figures. Cadian transfer sheet. Oh, that's pretty cool. Just random regimental numbers there. And yeah, you've got your Cadian gates. I like all these like little things that you can just throw onto the side of a Sentinel or onto the side of a helmet. Yeah, cool looking stuff. All right. Looks like we've got our Sentinel here. Then we've got our ordnance, heavy ordnance here. So let's take a look at the Sentinel, then we'll take a look at the heavy ordnance because those are the new things. And then we'll look at the infantry squad to close out. So here's the sprue. You're gonna have a lot of bits, which I love. I love having extra bits for my bits box because as someone who collects Imperial Guard as well as orcs, having little parts of Imperial Guard vehicles and weapons just slapped onto your orc vehicles makes perfect sense, and it's just really cool to see how much variety you're gonna have. I like to also see the variety in helmets. These are the pilot helmets. Nice. You get 4. So that's cool. Like for this one figure, the Sentinel, you get 4 different helmets, and you can, or 4 different heads. You could check the other 3 that you don't use, or all 4. If you're going to do an armored Sentinel, you're going to have 4 heads right there that you could throw onto your infantry. You have them looking completely different from any of your opponents or anybody else in your game store. Then you've got your heavy ordnance here. I'm sorry, I don't know the names for all of the weapons. I think for those of you who are really into playing and gaming, you might be like getting frustrated that I have no idea what the names of the actual weapons are. I'm just really looking at this from a modeler's and a painter's point of view. So this looks like the back of the spruce. So let's flip them over and check out these heads, son. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's one with a head there. 12. So you get 12 heads, and I think because you've got in this ordnance battery, I like all the extra random like missiles and giant rounds too. Like I said, you've got 11 heads, and like because these are just two, you're only going to be using 2 guns. They only give you the chassis and the complete sets to have 2 guns. You're going to have 6 crew. That leaves you with 5 extra heads. And all of these extra bits for the weapons that you don't use are going to be going onto your into your bits box as well. So I love that. I really like these cannons too. They look like just giant like World War II cannons. All right, and let's finally get onto the infantry. There is so much here, guys. So because of the new like monopose style that Games Workshop is going with for most of their armies, this is not like the old Cadian shock troopers where you're gonna have 10 pairs of legs, 10 torsos, and then maybe like 11 or 12 heads. These new miniatures are really going to be you're going to be building them like limb by limb. So you've got a leg, then you got a leg, then you got to look for the front of the torso here, and then you got to look for, okay, where's the back of that torso? So you see how you've got a couple of like torso fronts, and then you've got the torso backs. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too much of a fan of that. I kind of wish that they could have kept it simple like how it was before, even though the detail on these is terrific. Like this is the back of one, and now the troopers actually have like stowage pouches and packs, ammo packs. It's great, but it's just like one more extra step to have to build every single one of these torsos, and then to attach the legs, first one leg and then the other leg. But I mean, the price for that is that you or the trade-off for that is that you get a lot more detail packed into every single piece, rather than the old chunky looking torsos, which were just big, or legs rather, which were just you know, big chunks of plastic, like 2 giant legs, like totally off scale. These legs seem to be smaller, more in scale with what an actual human at this scale would look like. So the trade-off is what you're gonna have to deal with, this extra fiddly steps of really assembling and putting together these pieces. But you know, for what you're going to be getting, I think it's a good trade-off. Let's count the heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So, I mean, obviously you're going to get more heads than you're going to be able to use because you're not going to have enough bodies. But yeah, just collect them and decide if you want to decide you're going to use some of these heads for different parts later, or, you know, for whatever. It's going to be just extra pieces for your bits box. I love look at this new comms unit. I mean, it just has way more detail, more little bits like that cord. I just really love the way it looks. And I mean, we haven't really taken a look at the heads, but yeah, let's take a look at them. You got some scowling ones, some screaming ones. And I believe this is a mixed gender. I do see some that look like they belong to Lady Guard. Is that one chewing on a cigar? Hey, Pone! You got your comms guy. Yeah, so I really like these heads, and I think if you want to build your guys up as veterans, then get the guys that look a little bit harder and older. Maybe the guys wearing the masks. Very cool. So much detail, you guys. And then finally, let's take a look at the command squad. The banner, it's nice to see. It's a little bit skinnier. It's not as chunky as the last Imperial Guard standard in the command squad. It looks a little bit more realistic. Everything is more realistically scaled. And oh yeah, it looks like this is the front way forward. Let's look at these faces. Command squad is 5 bodies, but how many heads are we getting? 6. I see right there. It's just so many. Oh my gosh, you guys, you're really going to be checking your instructions and then the numbers on these sprues, because you're getting so many more pieces than before. It was easier before to be a gamer because you didn't have to worry about all these extra pieces. I like the detail on the scabbard. I think that's awesome. How many heads on this one? Oh yeah, look, 1, 2, 3 more heads. 4, 5 more heads. And all the extra bits that you can add anywhere. Okay, so that'll do it. So to close out this unboxing and review of the modeling kits, personally, I'm a fan of Imperial Guard. I've loved them since they were called the Imperial Guard and not the Astra Militarum. I think the innovations and the steps forward in modeling and sculpting and creating all of these different poses and sculpts, and the ability to do new things like these field ordnance batteries, I think it's great. And Games Workshop is continuing to move forward, and like visually they look way more aesthetically appealing rather than all having similar poses, or just the poses where like the old Cadian shock troop box where they're just standing with their feet planted. These guys look way more dynamic, way more individual, and I like the new sculpts that they've done for the command squad. So when they actually release these as individual boxes and make it so that you can get it not only by buying the Cadia Stands box, but actually having them for sale on their website, I think they're going to be a huge hit. We'll see how the actual army plays on the tabletop, but I'm a fan of most of it. Actually, you know what? Seeing them painted up, the only thing I'm not a fan of are these knee pads, but I've seen some of them painted where if you make the paint scheme a little bit darker and muddier and more grimdark, then these knee pads don't pop so much. Like, really, that's the only thing I don't care for in these uniforms. Yeah. Lady Guard. So I don't know, what do you guys think? Have any of you picked up this box set? Have you tried building these models? What do you think of these new, the new way of building Cadian shock troops, which before, because Games Workshop and Warhammer 40k was all about the numbers, right? Putting more bodies on the tabletop, buying more models, spending more money so that you can have more figures on the tabletop. It was easier, I think, to build Cadian shock troopers before. This is a lot more of every trooper has a story. Every trooper has his or her own look, which is going to be specific to that very model. So I don't know, is it better? It's kind of like with the Games Workshop Age of Sigmar, the skeletons, the new skeletons and the new zombies. Like, sure, they look really awesome now, but they're a little bit more fiddly to build, especially the zombies. There's more parts, there's more individuality. So let me know what you guys think. Are you a fan of the new aesthetic of the Guard? Let me know down in the comments. Do you have a guard army? What's your favorite regiment? I think personally mine has got to be, as much as I love my Death Corps of Krieg, there's just something about those metal Vostroyan models that I loved so much. I haven't really painted any Mordian or Valhallans, but I think, or Talarns, but I think if I did, any one of those would be hands down my favorite over these plastic ones. But I don't know, they're getting pretty close with some of these models. I think they look pretty good. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe if you're not already, and head on over to the Discord, you guys. It's such a great community there, and I really want to get it back up and jumping again with more people posting work and posting pictures of their projects. So head on over there, great community. And if you'd like to support me, all of my links are down below in the description. Hope you have a great day, guys. Thanks for watching this long video. I know it's running long now, but thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you in the next one.